G'day, Aussie Bonsai bloke. How you going? G'day, guys. As you can see, this is an absolutely massive job today, or over the next 3 days. I'm not sure, but massive. If you want to know how I got it in here, I'll just show you a few snippets. Take 2. Okay, so as you can see, I had a lot of trouble getting it in here and ended up, the pot broke off the bottom. I wasn't going to repot it yet. I was going to leave it in that pot for another year or two. But now that that's happened, I might end up repotting it. It's also allowed me to look at the roots better. I wasn't going to look at the roots too much. I was just going to do some carving on top. So as the video might suggest, I'm not sure, but what the title's going to be yet. But anyway, going to be a massive carving video and just initial branch selection and stuff like that for this tree. It's going to be a super full-on video. It's going to take me ages. I'll try to keep it down to a minimum time limit for you guys. So I guess up till now you can see I had to pretty well bare root it. It was growing in just sand from the paddock and it loved it. The roots are really healthy and the part of the tree that survived is fine. So a bit of history on this tree. I collected it 2 years ago with Laurie on, I think I had collecting from the wild or something video, and we dragged it down the hill and this is what we ended up with. So unfortunately half of the tree died. I'm not sure whether it was sprayed with Roundup. Normally I get pretty high success rates, I just put them out in full sun and they always shoot. So this one didn't. I was just about to give up on it after nearly a year, 8 months, and finally it started shooting on one side on the main trunk, which, you know, could actually end up being better for the tree. It might give it more interest. If the whole thing had shot, I probably would have just carved some of these stubs around the place and just done some styling. Whereas now, pretty cold too, by the way. We had a couple of frosts the last couple of days, so pretty cold. Yeah, so now, you know, it's going to definitely create more interest, but the interest that has to be put into there has to be done by the human hand, and that means a lot of labour, a lot of time, a lot of dedication into carving, and a lot of wood will be flying around this shed. So we're going to get into it. I put it on a spinning tree turntables turntable, so that's pretty cool, made by Adrian Eggleton, and it's able to easily spin this tree. So I'll give you guys a bit of a spin, and you can see she's massive, absolutely massive. So yeah, we'll just keep spinning it around back to where I started. Now, I've sort of spent about an hour looking at this tree, just walking around it, looking at it, and I suggest with a big piece like this, you do. I've also thought about what pot I'm going to put it in. I was going to put it into because the other pot broke up, I was going to put it into just a deep plastic training pot like that. Try and fit it in there. We'll see. We might still be able to fit it in there, but maybe not. I do got to reduce some of the dead wood underneath. Now that it's died back, I can get rid of some of the wood that's going to limit it to going only into a big pot. I'll be able to get rid of some of that and hopefully get into a slightly smaller pot. I probably won't be able to get it into this one, I don't know. But I do have a backup plan. So backup plan, just bear with me. I'm already making this a long video. Backup plan is I do have this massive pot that I bought from the show. Bonsai, no, I bought it from Barry's just before he closed. Sort of like his closing down sale. So I got this massive pot, 70 centimeters by 45 inside dimensions for $200, so that's pretty good. Super massive pot, so that is a possibility. It might end up going in a bonsai pot today, or not today, but when we're finished carving. Unexpected, I didn't expect to do that, but it might happen because of, yeah, just the fact the other pot busted up, and may as well try and get it into a smaller pot now that we know that half the tree is dead, or 3/4 of it. So let's talk about this tree a bit more. The oh, don't have all my lights on. The plan, I guess, for the tree is I think there's two really nice potential fronts for the tree that will be really quite nice. So where you're looking at it now, I think could be a potential front. Not bad at all. Like I say, going to be a lot of work. So this could be a potential front right now, and is to me the most likely. It gives this really low, almost secondary trunk some really good, you know, dominance in the piece, and, you know, just sits in a good spot. And then this back one's in a good spot, and then we'll be able to carve out this side of this top one, maybe create some interest in this fairly boring one, but it does have good growth at the top, so it'd be a pity to have to cut that off. But that brings me to the next point. So we'll spin it round, spin it round. Now, we've got this dead one at the back here, if that was the front. Now the next point is it's actually limiting the size of the pot that it can fit into by having this trunk on here. It is possible to completely remove this trunk. If I had this as the back of the tree, I mean, it would create interest to have some deadwood back there, but at the same time I could take it right off and then it can fit into a much smaller pot. Or another thing I could do is at least cut straight down here, which I'll probably do anyway even if I keep it. Okay, around about at soil level I'll cut straight down, maybe even undercut it a bit, allowing it to get into a smaller pot. Another thing, if we keep this back one here, it's not connected by too much. It is still strong at the moment, but maybe in 15 years time it might rot off completely on that side and this trunk might fall away anyway. This part of the trunk here is super well attached to the main tree. Okay, and quite a long ways above the what will be the ground level down here, so should be able to keep that pretty hard. That wood, olive wood, is super hard, super dense, and takes a long time to rot. So definitely keeping this side, as much as it pains me in thinking about how long it's going to take to carve it. We'll definitely keep this side. Right, so alright, so then the other option was this side here. Okay. Now, if that was the side, trunk is super cool. This trunk here would definitely come off if that was the case. And then you would see a super cool trunk in here. This trunk would be gone and you'll see all of this trunk along here. And that'll be super cool too. Actually a really cool front. And if that was the front, this main trunk here would probably go. It would probably just be cut back to a stub and carved or something, or maybe cut right off. And then some things here might be carved to create a bit more taper. And then this would be your main leader, another trunk here. But the thing is, if you do that and you want to see all the deadwood, so that'll be out the back then, that'll be out the front. You want to see all the deadwood, fine. This one gone, that's fine. But then it puts this main dominant side branch here long ways to the back, which I don't care if the first branch starts from the back. Doesn't really bother me, but it just looks a bit out of place where it is. If it was further to the back, possibly would work better. Or if the foliage started a bit closer in on the dominant trunk down there. So it's a hard one. We could make that work, definitely. Cut this one off, carve out all this, and that would save me a lot of work having to carve this one here. So that's a strong option, and then I wouldn't have to carve this one here. That would be gone as well. So that's a strong option and saves me hours of work and allows it to fit into a much smaller pot. So that's a strong option. I just wonder whether or not then you'll see enough. It's hard to imagine without that trunk there, but then you're going to have deadwood here, heaps of deadwood here. So there should still be enough deadwood. So it's a hard choice. There's I think two potential really nice fronts. So there's also a really nice front. This trunk here is boring, yes, but we can certainly carve something into that to make it less boring. This does become an inverse taper problem as well, if that was the case. Yeah, and then all of these little guys here, they'll be cut back to fairly short stubs and maybe a little bit of carving done to them. So, all right, so I think what I'll do is I'm going to cut everything back to short stubs and get rid of all the dead little twiggy stuff like that we're definitely not going to keep, and then maybe the vision will be a little bit better. So let's get into that, guys. Super cool tree, a lot of work, which is fine because that's why we do bonsai. I will save myself a lot of work if I do cut this back trunk off. As you can see, the tree weighed an absolute ton. So, but at the end of the day, you know, whatever work it takes, you can see this stuff died off quite well. And you can see all the bark's gone. Back to this super hard wood, really hard wood. I don't know what will rival the olive for hardwood. Maybe a Texas or something, but super hard wood. Let's get into it. So even this one here, you can see all that bark's going to peel off as you start carving. And then we just got to create something interesting. Nice. Okay guys, well, we have cut off a lot of stubs and stuff that we didn't need. Sort of push it out the way, maybe burn it in the inside fire later when it gets a bit cold. I'll start a fire inside the shed here, the old potbelly. But that, you know, could be somewhere near the front there. You can either push that to the back more, have some serious depth to it, or you can bring it round more and then shorten this guy and hollow it out. Interesting. So yeah, a lot of decisions. I have to make a decision quickly because otherwise I'll be here forever. Some of these branches I'm cutting off at 20 years old, just that single little branch. So I don't know how old the tree is, could be 30, 40 years old. Right, so next job I've got to do is I want to cut off a couple of these stubs to make sure it fits in the pot. So let's do that. I'm going to use my blunt chainsaw, old crappy blade. So this could take a while with a blunt chainsaw, but let's use that. Okay guys, got the old still, give her a start from cold. She's a beast, this one. 291, MS 291. 291, yeah. Alright, so let's got rid of some of the stubs that are going to hang out and restrict it into a pot. I guess next thing is, let's put the pot there. See whether I can actually lift this thing now, I guess. Then we'll put the pot there and see if we can't. Jesus, still bloody heavy. Oh! See if we can't put it into the pot. Oh, Jesus. Got the pot on the table. Let's lift her up and see whether she fits. Bend the knees. Ooh, Jesus, back's fucked. It's not light at all. How am I gonna lift it later? Probably couldn't tell you that. Okay, cord stuck. Hopefully it's still recording. Okay. Well, does fit front to back okay. That wood gone. Probably still a bit of carving there, hollow that. But yeah, okay, so it fits. The roots all fit in. Probably won't carve it in that pot, which means I have to lift it out again. Wish I had someone to pull the pot away as I just lift it up in the air. It would be so much easier. Goes the sunnies. Joys of big trees. Hard to handle on your own. Alright guys, so I've been looking at the whole tree. Pretty much decided that I do definitely like. Oh, have I? Just love that bit of it though. Now, I have decided if I take this whole front one away, carve out most of this one as a back one, if this was around the other way, what's going to happen is going to create a fairly big hole here where there's nothing. So I'm going to leave it exactly how it is, about that angle. Maybe even go slightly more because it gives the trunk a bit more interest. Alright, so let's eliminate some branches now that I think need to be shortened. I think this is a good candidate for being shortened. And that'll be carved out because I don't want that to take away too much from this beautiful piece back here. Just got to make sure everything's solid so we don't lose something that... We don't cut something off that was solid and end up with something weak. Now, I do want to shorten this back one here. I don't think it needs to go out that far because, well, even for logistics of trying to transport it, with that branch sticking that far out, it starts to get hard as well. And I don't think it needs to be out quite that far. We'll just carve it back to here somewhere. Now, I'll use a chainsaw probably after this, but I just want to have a good count of the rings later, so I want a nice clean cut so I can count the rings. Very hard wood. Whew. Fairly old. They do grow quick, but it's fairly old. Super sad day when a lot of this foliage died, but like I say, it could end up giving me something better later on. Now, another problem I have here is this top one up here with this massive inverse taper. I think what I'll do is I'll take this back chunky one off, then do some nice deadwood carving feature into here to create a bit of interest and a bit of taper. So, just trying to decide. Yeah, the back one's not very interesting at all. So I'll get rid of that one now. Actually, I might get the chainsaw out. I'll get the little chainsaw out. So I'm going to cut this back one off here and then we'll carve it later. I'm also going to shorten this guy here because to get the really nice shape of the main trunk, I feel like it's got to be shortened back to here somewhere, and it'll make carving easier. Okay, and there's also two trunks here. This one here is quite interesting how it goes out and comes up. This one here is very interesting on the end, but it's got a long straight section which you probably can't see too much. Starts here and it's got this big long straight section which is quite ugly. So I'm going to chop it back in a straight section and just carve a stub out of that. So let's do a quick bit of cutting and see how we end up. I'll get the little chainsaw out for this job. See how we go. So this is eliminating a lot of carving work for me as well, but still keeping the interest, because at the end of the day, if I have to carve something, I will. And I love carving. It's just, this is about a bloody 25, 30 hour project, and I don't think it quite needs that much stuff on it. So let's get rid of some. Originally I was going to be lazy and just chop it all off and just keep this main trunk, but I certainly think that would have been a bad way to go. Right, let's chop this branch off. This poor little guy probably needs a clean out in the carby. Bloody beauty. Alright, so that all went without a hitch. Managed to cut that one off without nicking the branch in the front. So it'll be a nice deadwood feature back here to hopefully get rid of some of that inverse taper. Also got to do a lot of carving around the top there to create interest. It's going to be hard because the live one here is almost on the, almost takes up the outside of that trunk a little bit. But It's going to all have to be hollowed out, carved out all through the back here, and create some nice interest in that. I'll probably get my little chainsaw out for that one. You know, my little one that I bought. Probably give it a go. So I've got to just come up with a plan now. Basically, I'm just going to carve and hollow everything, get rid of all the bark. Probably do a lot of it on hyperlapse. This is not so much a how-to video. This is just, you know, I guess a transformation video of its progress. It's not so much a how-to. So now, basically, what I will do is I'll just start big cuts with a chainsaw, with a little chainsaw. Then I'll get the big die grinder bit out and start creating some nice big hollows. Get rid of the bark and just create interest in all the dead areas and some good hollows. So it's going to be basically a hyperlapse video now from now on until carving's finished. So I'll see you guys in about 30 hours. So it's going to save a lot of time for you guys with the video anyway. Stubs like this, big stubs, I might even drill a hole and hollow them out and create some interest, some nice fine features in there. Same with the ones at the top here. This big one will be all hollowed out. This one here is going to be all hollowed out with a nice stub feature on there. Just tapering it all down, trying to get rid of inverse taper. Keeping it interesting. Most of these trunks now are quite interesting. So there's a look at it now. Sort of what it looks like. And you can imagine all this is going to be carved and hollowed. And here as well. Then you got one side of the tree that's still alive. And then the back, because this one's been shortened as well, the back of the tree is still going to look pretty bloody nice. You're going to have all the deadwood there, deadwood here, deadwood feature down here. Just tapered stubs up here. This will all be hollowed out. So it's still going to be bloody nice from the back, except this main trunk will go away from you. That's about the only thing negative. But then the main trunk, who's to say a tree can't lean away from you at the top? But that's going to be the main front, I think. And I'll periodically go through and just, it's a big word for me, and just get the squirter bottle out and just moisten the roots of the tree if I can find it. So I might just do that now. Quick update. Guys, bloody mess. Look at this floor. Oh my God, what a mess. Probably do it outside, but I've got to do it inside. Look at this, guys, ready? It is starting to look super cool. Starting, not 100%. You can see the inverse tape has gone out of here. The main trunk is looking pretty good now. One side's died. Tape is pretty good. I've tried to keep most of the taper. This one here is pretty well carved. That one's carved and the back one's carved. The only issue I have, okay, is this back one. Look at that beautiful carve there. The back one that I've carved here is starting to look too bloody good. And the problem with that is then you think, well, should this be the front of the tree? Because that's an awesome carve job there. But don't worry. The rest of it's still got to be finished off. the next step is to get the drill out. So I've done the block. I call this a block carving. So basically, I did all of this, really I did most of it with die grinder and the big bit. Okay, including getting in here and hollowing stuff out. So now, next step is to get the drill and hollow some of these holes out with the drill and try and make it believable, and then probably use, and the same with here, it's going to be a hole. So after that's done, and maybe even in here with a smaller hole, after that's done, then we can, wow, I mean, everywhere you look, there's just interesting stuff everywhere. Wow. So after the drilling's done, then we can look at the smaller Dremel or possibly a small bit in the die grinder. Die grinder's doing a super good job, you know, considering what it's got to cut through, like the poor die grinder. I'm putting it through its paces and we'll see how she goes. So I'm going to start drilling. Cheers guys, that's the update. Super happy with how it's coming along. Like I say, I don't plan or map anything. I just do some grooves and holes and carves wherever I think it looks good. And always keep taper in mind every time you do it. Lighter wood on the tips, stronger wood on the base. So all of the carving's done, drill holes done, and now we're going to get this thing going and just put little burn marks and holes and things. Okay guys, be careful because, oh my god, look at this. Oh, just pulled something out of there. I can still move my fingers, but oh, let's just run. Good day guys, day 2. As you can see, my hand's bandaged up. Day 1, it was getting pretty late anyway, but finished early because I got a cut in my hand pretty bad. You know, Zito basically fell off the table while it was running, and I was here carving and supporting it with this hand, and it ripped into there and it sort of bogged in and just dug a big hole in there and just minced it up, just really minced it. I think I'm okay. I can feel my fingers pretty well. There's a little bit of numbness in these 2 fingers. I can still move them, so my tendons are okay. Should have had stitches, but I'm a stubborn man. It's a decent sized wound there. Stubborn man, and I didn't want to go to the doctor, so you know, I don't like doctors prodding around in a sore wound. I mean, you just heard it and here they are opening it up and putting needles in it and all sorts of stuff. Don't like that, so I'm just going to hope it heals fine on its own. Like I say, these 2 fingers are a little bit numb, swollen, can't get the wedding ring off, but I'll just see how it goes. So yeah, basically, be careful. So now what I'm going to do, which I should have done before, it's fallen off the bench plenty of times before, but I've just managed to get my fingers out of the way. I've got a nail up there or a Tek screw in the top of the tree, and now I'm free to carve around anywhere in the tree without this thing falling down. So, you know, that's my safety. Anyway, I'm going to bring you guys in close on the carving and show you what's been done so far. And maybe talk you through a couple of the steps. Like I said, this wasn't going to be a how-to video because it's so long. And the carving, I'm literally day 2 and I put in probably 12 hours on the first day. So you can see all these stumps that were just plain stumps have now been carved out. hollows everywhere. So I call this block carving. Basically the initial stages of carving is block carving. That's where you get your initial holes. I use the die grinder there. My main go-to bits, okay, is this bit, okay. That is the main one. That done pretty much 90% of this tree, okay. Just getting in there and hollowing things out. Even in here, it did that, and then move it around and hollow that out, okay. So that's my main one. It's pretty old now. That was from Bonsai Sensation. Not sure whether they're New South Wales or Victoria. It's getting pretty blunt. I did ask them if they wanted to sponsor me with a new one, but it didn't happen. So I'll have to buy one day. So anyway, it's just me being cheap. And the other one is stuck to the bottom. So I use that one, and then I go to this one in the die grinder. And this one is great for putting holes through to the back. So you can see that hole there. A lot of these holes. If the hole's too big, like this one here, like too far in, and I can't get the bit in far enough, this one I could, but if I can't, I get the drill bit out first and like drill a few holes, and then I just try to generally elongate it a bit so it doesn't look like a super round hole with this bit, and just try and basically edit out all the tool marks to a point where it's looking sort of half natural. But at this block stage, it's not natural yet. Okay, so here's another big hole. So yeah, at this block stage, it ain't natural yet. Look at that cool one. Just hollowed it out and created some sort of a weird leg thing there. This one here, got this overhang shoulder now. So yeah, it worked out pretty well. So yeah, that's the block carving. And then what we do is we get the Dremel, basically just 2 bits and maybe a drill bit in the drill for the hard to reach places, because there is a limit on the reach that the die grinder gets with this. I sort of put it in right on the end and try and get it in as far as I can, but there's a limit. So then what we do is we come along here with the Dremel, or well, it's not a Dremel, it's a rotary tool, Ozito, cheapo, but I find them really powerful, and my hand certainly found it quite powerful too. And all I do then is go along and put these burn marks in everywhere, and it gives this natural sort of look with the wood grain. Okay, and hopefully by the time I finished all that, all of these tool marks will be gone, and you have these small little marks all over the place. I'll probably not varnish or stain. I probably won't stain this tree. I'm gonna let it weather naturally and really let it get on some nice patina naturally in the next few years. But yeah, that's the bit to do it. It's just a simple little bit like that. Okay, just don't let it get caught in your hand. It was like it got caught in a shirt. It just ripped in there and just started ripping apart and getting caught. Same as a t-shirt. It was like it got caught in a t-shirt when it got caught in my hand. Now I've been using my hand again today and it's bleeding again, so don't tell the wife. But yeah, there's a small amount of bruising on the back as well of my hand. So let's go and do that on hyperlapse and get some full detail. So next time you see me, this will have full detail all the way around, and then we'll get to maybe positioning a few of these branches and creating a style to the tree. But I'm really happy with this progress. This progress is super cool. So time for hyperlapse. Cheers guys. Cheers. Good day, guys. So here's a bit of an update. Update's basically on all this detailed carving work. The carving work, basically you just hold this bit in, the same one that bit me, and you just go all different angles, make it look a little bit like the termites trenched underneath the bark, and you just keep doing that through the whole thing. Olive wood is extremely hard, which makes it difficult and tedious, but it looks way better than seeing here where I can't get to. It looks way better here on the outside. So definitely spend the time to really do the detailed work. The detailed work completely sets it off. So here we have this nice block carving. So that's what I'll call block carving. Beautiful block carving. But where you've done the detailed work, it just really makes it pop. So definitely spend the time on the detail, even though it is tedious and repetitive. And I've probably been going here for 4 hours to do basically 2 of the trunks in 4 hours. So I've probably got another 2 hours-ish left, 2.5. And I'll report back to you then. But another thing I will say too is these stumps that I've done the detailed work on were already dry. So it's already hardwood because it's dried and dyed a long time ago, a couple of years ago. If you've got wet wood, like I had here, this was wet wood, either you got to burn it in harder and for longer because it's soft still, or you could even do the block carving because they're such big jobs in themselves. You could do the block carving on wet wood, come back in a month or 2 and then do your detailed work. But because this is already dry, I can do the detailed work at the same time. If it was all wet like here, I wouldn't bother trying to do it today. I would do it in another month because in wet wood it takes a long time to burn in, whereas dry wood is a lot easier to burn in all this detail. Yeah, don't get slack on it. Just keep on going with it. So there you go, detailed work, block work. You can see from here which stump you rather. This one, this one's probably got better shape, or this one that looks gnarly back here. Detail, that's where it's at. Probably more important than the actual block carving. Pay attention to detail. Okay, good day, guys, girls, and unidentified. Here we are. All the detailed work is done. All this crazy carving detailed work is done. Probably, I don't know, 6 hours detailed work, which gives it a really rough, sharp, jagged feel. Which I think deadwood should have a really sharp, jagged feel rather than a smooth, like what washes up on the beach, what do you call it? Anyway, driftwood. I think driftwood is a whole different kettle of fish. I think a bonsai tree should have this really hard, sharp feel of deadwood. Really abrasive, which is what's on here. All this has been done after the block carving with the Dremel and a little bit which ended up cutting my hand. So I don't know, I'm really loving it. It's looking really cool. I'm glad I decided to keep this back trunk. Okay. And I feel like the whole thing should be strong enough for a long while before one of the trunks rot out in the ground and fall off. I've also done a lot of carving on this one here because there was 2 trunks, so that it tapers down and the one trunk doesn't look way out of place. So yeah, really cool. I really like this tree now. I was very disappointed with this tree at the start, the way it was going. And now that I've carved it, spent time on this side of the tree, really impressed with it. Just have to, yeah. I mean, what else is there to say? Love it. Love it, love how it's going, and just super happy with it. Hand, well, I mean, it's dirty as poo, but you can understand that. Started bleeding again because I was working it too hard. Last two fingers are still numb. Who knows what's going on with that, but anyway. Ground, look at the ground. Wow. Look at this. Just absolutely covered in dust. So you want to start carving in your shed, that's what happens. I'll just show you guys the tree now. Bring these up on the tree. And all the different deadwood features. So yeah, pretty cool. All these little grooves, it just makes it look way more old and natural. You can see my hand behind here. It does, you know. Just love the effect it gives it, you know. This back trunk, look at this. Beautiful. Absolutely stunning. So yeah, that's all dead part of the tree. So this whole side from here, that way, is all dead. I'm not going to be styling any of the top at the moment. I'm just going to let it grow for probably another year at least to get some decent thick branches from where they originate from. And then maybe after that, another year from now, what we'll do is we'll start selecting some good branching. Oh, it's been a fairly epic couple of days. Just want to make sure we're looking at the front that we like. Okay, that's pretty cool. Maybe just pull it this way a bit. The thing is, this side of the tree is not going to need any room in the pot for soil. There's no roots, it doesn't matter. The other side of the tree is where it's all at. So you're better off pulling it on this side. That could be a little bit ridiculous. We'll see. Yeah, okay, that's a bit ridiculous. So, we want to... Wow. Oh. My hand is not working at the moment. I can't. I just want to make sure that these bloody screens are over the bottoms. Seem to be. Okay, I want to push it that way as far as I can without being silly. And I also want to maybe turn it slightly that way, just to give it a little bit more interest, hopefully. We'll see. I'll go back and have a look at the camera Yeah, I mean, that is, the interest in that is pretty awesome. If you could see some real life, you would be amazed by the deadwood features there, but it's hard to tell from where you guys are. Alright, so basically now what we're going to do is we're just going to put all the roots back into the pot and put some soil back in, and yeah, let the tree be a tree, let it recover. Yeah, epic video, massive carved job, carved up my hand as well. Tree needs styling, but I'm hesitant to style it yet. I'm going to let it grow for a bit longer. Fertilise it well, let it grow for a little bit longer, and then I'll start to style it. Some of the branching is nearly ready. I just want it to get a little bit thicker at the base, that's all. At the base of some of these side shoots are just not quite strong enough, but give you guys a spin. The carving turned out super. Just love the carving. Actually, while I've stopped it there, I want to have a look. I haven't even seen it from that angle yet. Yeah, okay, so that's the back of the tree. That is the back of the tree, and it still looks pretty cool. Okay, so we'll bring you in close, give you a spin. If you guys haven't watched the whole video, fair enough, you know, it's a massive long video. All sorts of stuff in the video. Really happy with how my carving turned out. A lot of hours, 30 hours probably. But it's worth it, you know. That amount of carving turns a mediocre tree into a really good tree. So it's worth it. Bit of a close-up. Some of the carving. This branch here where it was massive inverse tape with 2 branches. Completely carved one out and left the other branch alone. And yeah, that's pretty much it, you know. A lot of carving, a lot of detailed work. That's what we have. Cheers guys, I hope you enjoyed. Long video. If you got bored and fast forward, I don't blame you. So cheers guys, thanks for watching. Aussie Bonsai bloke, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.